Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Mignot, CEO of the experience agency D-Flash. This is part of my 29 Days of Magic series where I talk to 29 amazing Black women over the course of Black History Month. And this episode is no different. I'm super happy to have Jodine Dorce, who's an event producer, host, and all-around awesome badass. We're going to have a great conversation. Take a listen.
Yes, let me just give you your flowers and just tell you thank you for doing this. As you can see, there's so many phenomenal Black women doing some amazing things. And, we don't get the recognition and the shine, but it's so good to know that other people get to hear this, your audience get to hear what some of these great women are doing. Because, Black girl magic is real.
Awesome. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. So, with the podcast, it always is the same first question, and I'm super excited to hear what your idea might be. Jodine, what was your first job?
Oh my God, my first job was when I was 15 years old in Miami, Florida, 163rd Street Mall. If anyone's from Dade County, they would know this. And I just worked at a food serving at a pizza spot. It was called Orange Bowl. I think it was called Orange Bowl. Not Orange Bowl like the Orange Bowl, like football Orange Bowl. But it was called Orange Bowl. And it really introduced me to, it kind of just introduced me to the whole cash handling, customer service, and appeasing people.
Which comes in very handy.
In our line of work, yes, it does.
You know what is funny? I continue, like 3 years in, a gazillion episodes later, the reason I ask this question is because I'm always so fascinated by the fact that whatever the person that decides the job they mentioned as their first job always correlates to what they do now, whether it's service, dealing with crazy people, things you won't do, things you will do. Like, it all starts at that very first job. So it's cool to see that that is similar with you as well.
Yeah. Technically, my dad had what we would call a bodega here in New York. My dad had one of those, and I was his cashier when I was in middle school. But, it's always kind of been that cashier type of beginning where you have to appease people. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what I do. I make people smile and make them feel good about their purchases, I guess.
Exactly. You've got to make people smile.
Right.
Feel good about stuff so they'll spend their money. Yeah,
right.
Sounds about right. Totally sounds about right.
Right.
So, what is it you do now? How did you go from being a cashier at the mall to having that with me here? 5 years later.
Right. 5 years later, what I've been able to achieve.
Prodigy.
What I do now is, I had, right now I'm working for a live events agency, but also working with this live events agency, I'm able to kind of brand myself and host the Apollo Music Cafe and host the Capital Jazz TV digital interview segments and host, the Capital Jazz Super Cruise, as well as the festival, and just a number of other events that are going on around town. A lot of them centrally music related because of my love for music and my passion for music, but of course going beyond that. And so I produce in the background. I do a lot of live events. I do a lot of working with content creators and producing what they're doing. But then I also, produce, conferences to keep moving our culture forward and to keep teaching folks about this wonderful arts, culture, and entertainment field that we're in. And how did I get there? I can't say that it was a straight line. It's a very zigzag line. There's no real template to follow. It's just one of those things that you just open yourself up and just see what happens. And I know that sounds crazy because you go into this world with such determination in school to graduate, and then after you graduate, determination to get that first gig, and then you get that first gig. And unless you're on this path, which I've noticed even with artists and musicians and with creatives, like they have their path, right? They have that path. They train every day, all day, even in sports, and that's what you grow up to do and be and excel at it and change the world, right? But there's this group of us, or a group of people, that, we don't have that path. So what is it that we're doing? We're following our passions. And I've been able to follow my passions really to produce events that's culturally related. So going behind the scenes and creating experiences for people, and integrating that with brands and sponsorships and things of that nature. And then, there's also this passion of making people feel good about an experience and getting them hyped about an artist or a creator that's about to jump on stage. And, how do you start doing that? You create your own platforms. You get an opportunity to work with an institution. So you jump on it and you don't say no, and you go out there and just see what else is out there and say yes to a lot of things that maybe are even outside of your comfort zone, just so that you can fulfill that passion in you, of what you love to do, i.e. customer service, making sure people are happy.
It's always so, I have to say that similarly, like I, had a crazy circuitous past to what I do now. And the hosting part of it is always the most fun, because also, you're the first line of defense. You're making sure everything feels good, is on and popping, and but also you're in charge, and there is something distinctively kind of awesome about that.
Yeah. There's. I mean, it's a good feeling. We used to do, when I used to produce the Essence Festival. There was, if you ever been to Essence, into the trade show area, where in the convention center where the sponsorship activations are taking place, there is this second level that's not for consumers. It's only for the people back of house. And there's something about standing in that bridge with that glass, and anyone who's worked at this festival knows what I'm talking about, and looking at the amount of people that are just dancing and having a good time, eating, laughing, hanging out with their grandmothers. And there's something about seeing 500,000 people do that all at the same time and know that you did that. There's something about it. And it's just such a fulfilling feeling, like, okay, if I die tomorrow, I did what I was supposed to do. I gave this group of people that experience.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. I think that it's such an awesome feeling to be in that moment. And I think it also is this awesome validation of, like, you kind of made it all come together, and then you're like, yep.
Yeah. Right. Of course, like, don't get me wrong, and this, Laura, like, don't get us wrong. Like, we're band-aiding everything. We're falling, we're putting out fires, like you're hurting yourself in the midst of it. But at the end of the day, it's so rewarding and so fulfilling, to create the experience, and to play a part in that, if not owning it.
And did you always feel like you'd be a host on these things, or was it something that sort of evolved as you were going along the way in your career?
Well, it's interesting because producing events has always kind of been that line of work. Hosting came out of necessity. But what's funny is, if you ask my friends in college and high school, I still have a sign. They created for me in college, right? It was called the Dorce Show, because I was always proud of my last name. And it was called the Dorce Show. And they were like, oh, most likely to be a talk show host, Jodine. But it really, hosting and moderating panels and came out of necessity, because I never felt like people would get it right. Like, they won't get the subject matter right. They won't get that artist right, and they'll introduce that artist, and people will not get as hyped as you would, or they won't be as excited. So I used to produce events, showcases, and concerts, and I would host. Like, I'm booking the talent, and then I would host it, because I don't think you would get it I think it'd get lost in translation if an artist just goes on stage and just says, and just starts playing, or somebody just says, yeah, welcome to the stage, Ray Angry. And, you're clapping, but you don't know who Ray Angry is. Like, it's like, like you won't get it, but it takes that certain kind of excitement and that energy exchange and that locking with the audience to be like, look, you guys, you're about to experience something that's about to be phenomenal. Let's do this. And everyone's hyped. And now a Ray Angry can come on stage and be welcomed accordingly.
Yeah, it's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. It's a thankless job though. Don't get it twisted. Like,
oh my God,
nobody's checking for the host. Nobody's
checking for the host. Like, you're like, what? You're alive? Okay, maybe.
Right.
Don't give a damn. It's like, right. But it's okay. So we all know that it's like crazy and wacky and weird in the world of events. What's been a challenge along the way that, you had to run into and then figure out a way to get around or over and through? Like what, where you were like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? and how did you figure it out and get moving to the next level?
I think, that's an interesting one, because I feel like that's ever evolving, right? It's always, especially because you're in real time creating something, right? And you're like, ooh, this is hard. Like making a $1 million mistake for a brand. I won't put the brand out there, but you being responsible for $1 million mistake because your name's on it and you're that leader that's owning that. And how do you get through that? How do you talk to your client and say, okay, this happened and, we're going to fix it, and not feel like you're about to get like assassinated tomorrow morning. You know what I mean?
It's that little thing. Oh,
right. Like what? What? It's, but you grow through these moments. I'm dealing with something now where, hosting is a passion that I love, and being a host and having conversations and creating conversations live and in person is something that I truly love to do. And I do it, but I don't do it enough. So why am I not doing it more? And even that, like getting over that fear of people don't want to, people don't want to listen to you. It's like all those self things that happen in your head when you're trying to like become this great woman and step into the shoes that you were meant to be. Mm-hmm. But you always have those voices that are telling you, nah, nobody really wants to hear you. You're not pretty enough. You're not this enough. You're not that enough. And you're comparing yourself to the social media channels. You like, I'm good. I'll stay in my safe space of working full time. You know what I mean? Instead of really creating that love of life that you want to live in. So it's how do we get through it? We constantly grow and we learn, and we have a support group around us to tell us how badass we are, like a clique.
Well, nice one. I think it's hard because it's really difficult oftentimes to kind of quiet the negative self-talk and that's in your head, because you think that you're not good enough, and how do you get through that? So how for you, what do you have any kind of like cool tools that you use that when that's kind of coming your way, separate of having your cheering squad?
Actually, I know this sounds weird, but I embrace it and I listen to it. You know what I mean? I listen to it. I listen to my self-doubt. Like I listen to it and then I'm just like, all right, thanks. Thanks. And I move it along. And trust me, this is not something, if you're not used to doing, that you could just do overnight and be like, oh, I'm going to start listening to all my self-hate and just like, put it to the side. If you're used to listening to that and then engaging it and then, responding to it in a certain type of way that doesn't benefit where you want to go, that's your behavior. That's part of your behavior. So that's hard to like unpack and unravel, if you will, so that you could start to so that you could start to own and empower yourself on your own. And that's something that I had to learn how to do. I had to learn to, okay, what am I saying to myself? Like literally having this conversation this morning about me going to LA and wanting to go to LA so that I can meet some folks and try to do these live talk experiences. Probably sharing too much, but it's okay. And literally said to myself while I was talking to somebody, like, girl, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear your dreams. You just need to help them, whatever. And I listened to myself and said, okay, where's that coming from? Oh, that's fear again. Shit, I'm still dealing with fear. All right, thanks for the tips. And I kept on talking.
Awesome.
So it's this, I've got to embrace, because that's it's part of me. It's the yang to my yang. I'm never going to be 100% empowered, inspired, motivated, and 100% go get them. I've got to embrace those parts of me that wants to keep me crippled so that I won't cripple.
Oh, that's so key. I think, for some folks, it can be completely detrimental. And then for some folks, I think, you're able to channel that in really, beautiful and evocative ways, because we all deal with it. And and I think that especially, one of the things that, we're talking about a lot on the show during the series is that, like, especially as Black women in whatever industry it is. So we hear it so often from the outside, and then we hear it on the inside, and we're like, oh my God.
Right. We've been conditioned for so many years. You have been conditioned for so many years as a Black woman to, like, you're not this. You can't do that. You don't have those resources. You don't have this. You were born from a fatherless, a fatherless family. You have all the reasons on why you can't be great. Come on, y'all. Like, we've got to own our greatness.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's literally why I'm doing this. Like,
yes.
And I didn't want to, as I said, I could have easily gone to my big ass network that I have and just put this call out for Black women for this month, but I really wanted to just kind of go the unsung, regular schmegler, bomb-ass Black woman who's just doing the work. Because if we give you an opportunity just to shine, I think that also does a lot for, just patting yourself on the back. Like, you are awesome. Like, I'm not sure if you saw that Cicely Tyson did one of those Queen videos for Netflix on Strong Black Lead.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Oh my God, it's phenomenal. It is now my wallpaper.
Oh, what? Okay, I've got to go check it out.
It is so, because first of all, it's Cicely Tyson telling you are a queen, and that, like, every single thing that you may have think that you have that has tried to break you has not broken you. And, like, to hear Cicely Tyson, who is phenomenal at 90 plus years old, looking beat for the gods, being like, this is what you need to be. It's the best thing you could ever hear.
Yeah.
And it reminds you of the struggle and the sacrifice that we all go through, but yet we always still rise.
Yes. I've got to check. I'm a true fan of Cicely Tyson. I mean, even like Felicia Rashad. I was reading. I know this is a sidebar, but I was listening to a video clip that she did, and she was just like, I can't be, she's like, I can't care about someone else's thoughts about me. She's like, and not in a cocky, stubborn way, but she's like, this is my life. This is my journey. Like, I can't dictate my journey based on what you're thinking. Your thinking comes with a whole bunch of stuff that's your journey.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, Felicia Rashad, come on.
Come on with it. Exactly. Like, no.
Yeah.
Not here for this foolishness.
I'm not here for this foolishness. And like, to your point, what we were just saying, we've already been conditioned to hear all the things of who we are and what we are. We got to own our space back. We've got to own our bodies back. We've got to own our journeys and realize that this is just us. We came alone, we die alone, unless you're a twin, and that's a whole nother conversation. But I mean, we have to own our journey. We have to.
You got absolutely.
Yeah.
So, All right. So we've talked about owning our journey and what we've got to. So what are you doing next?
So next is I am producing. So I'm working with this great team. It's a brother by the name of Attica. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's out of Brooklyn, New York. He is Brooklyn grown and raised and grown, and he's just a staple in the Brooklyn community. And he is working with one of our council members, Robert Gornicki, and I'm working with him in producing the Brooklyn Film and Arts Media Conference, and it's to really celebrate and highlight and learn and educate around the film, arts, and media world. It's really one of those conferences that we're hoping will elevate Brooklyn's arts community and professional arts creative community, just creative overall. So I'm working on that with him. Just finished the Capital Jazz Super Cruise, where not only was I producing but programming and hosting like their morning shows and concerts and things of that nature. So I'm kind of like getting off of that high right now and looking for, quite honestly, just looking for more opportunities to program, produce, and host, and work with brands as well as institutions, creative institutions. However I could continue to push our culture forward and push I don't want to make it sound so hotep, but push our people forward. That's what my purpose is. So I've got to continue doing that. And that's what's next for me. And I'm continuing to this day working with Apollo Music on their late night series with the Apollo Music Cafe, serving as host and sometimes curator. So still doing that. You can find all that information out on my website. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you got all this stuff that you're doing. Well, how do you take care of yourself? Like, what is your self-care routine? Is it, spa day? Is it a massage? Is it Real Housewives on the weekend? What's something that you do to like take care of yourself and like chill out for a little bit?
I will say that I am a wine drinker, so there's a lot of wine that's involved.
Same, right there with you.
Right. So shout out to Cabernets, because that's
Cabernet your life. Got it.
Right. Cabernets and this great couch right here. Woo woo. But I do for self-care. I do typically I like to get massages. Don't get me wrong. I like massages. I like spas and all that other good stuff. But self-care is curled up on my gray couch with a glass of Cabernet, window slightly open, and I'm reading a good book. Like right now, I'm reading the Jay-Z autobiography. I love reading books and learning about other people and learning about myself. So that's pretty much my self-care.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah, that's me. It's like I don't have, and it's a lot. And Laura, you know this too. Like your lifestyle is a lot. There's a lot that you're juggling. It's a lot of oranges that you're trying to catch. But at the same time, it's time. Sometimes it's just that time. You got to block out that. You got to force yourself to lay on your couch and just drink red wine and read a good book or whatever your self-care is. And that's how I like to.
Awesome. Those are good to know, to Cabernet.
Shout out to the Cabernet.
Shout out to the cabs.
Right.
And so as part of this 29 Days of Magic, I want the magic to continue. So is there anything that you'd like to say, that an ask that you may have or a give that you may be able to give to our audience? Well, obviously put all of your details in the show notes and how people can get in contact with you. But closed mouths don't get fed. So
I know that's right. And thank you for doing that, Laura, because it's so important that we ask for help, because I know I do. I know I have a superwoman complex. Like, I can do it all, but I can't. Like, we can't. And when, like, I just constantly ask for, connections. Like, I love making connections. I love, even if it's not for me, like, if you know a Black female chef who's trying to start off and she's looking for that opportunity, pass her my way. Even if it's not for me, maybe there's someone in, maybe there's a project I'm working on, or someone else that may need that connection. I like to connect people. I broker things in the background. I love connecting people, and I'm all about sharing of resources and sharing. And just creating spaces for people. So, my ask is that you reach out to me, and if you know of anyone or anything that I could help with what I do as far as producing, programming, curating, hosting, I'd love to help. Just as long as it's aligned with moving our culture forward, I'm here for it.
Perfect. I mean, you couldn't have ended this even as spoken as someone who does this for a living too.
Right.
Jodine, it has been such a delight to have you on the show. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. And, people can go to my website, Jodine Dorce, or my Instagram, Jodine Dorce. I'm not that creative. It's just my name.
It's called To the Point.
Right. It's just my name. Like, I don't have this whole branding thing. Like, I'm the creative, host or Haitian host or something. None of that. It's just my name.
It's all you need. Let's just keep it really simple. Like, there's nothing for us to remember. It's my name. Right. So we'll put all your details in the show notes.
Thank you.
So people can hopefully find where you are and what you're up to. And thank you so much for being part of 29 Days of Magic. It means a lot to me that you were able to do this.
Oh, it means so much to me that you're doing this, Laura, and I will make sure that I am supporting and promoting your endeavors, because what you're doing is magical. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And that's our show.